This is John Walton, and you're listening to the Power Play Point podcast with the Blue Liner on Point and Anna Knox. Here's Wilson, and on the right circle, he scores!
Rebound loose, wild scramble in front, score! Ovechkin with a buzzer beater! It'll count!
And a hat trick tonight, number 21,
Spectacular! Braden Holtby!
Hello, welcome once again to the Power Play Point podcast. This is your host, the Blue Liner on Point, and I'm staring out the window on a gloomy, slightly Sunday evening here in downtown Glen Burnie, Maryland. It is March the 12th in the year of the Common Era, as some call it, 2023. I've got something really weird in the background, an XFL game. Decided I'd check that out at the behest of a friend of the show, Robbie Gross. Yeah, we're back. It's another week of Caps hockey. Slight change of plans. We had a special guest on, or planned to be on this week, but they had to postpone. We will have them on next week, so do please stay tuned for that. In the meantime, we will go ahead and go over the three games that were played. And when I say we, of course, I mean the one and only co-host that is the mermaid that just celebrated a birthday, live from Centerville, Virginia. It is Anna Knox. Anna, how you be this evening?
I be good. Thanks, Gil. It's been a kind of a dreary Sunday, and I absolutely hate daylight savings.
Yeah, the whole spring forwards, fall back, I'm kind of done with it. I actually heard last year was going to be the last year somehow, but I guess not.
Yeah,
So
I hate it.
Keep on fudging with the clock because we apparently can't get enough daylight, and the cows don't know when to be milked or some stupidness like that. But yeah, I'm kind of done with it. But whatever. I guess we're going to keep on going with it.
Yeah.
Nice. So, how was the birthday?
It was good. I was at school, but my teacher friends on my team treated me to al fresco, which is like a really great. Okay, great. My dogs are barking. I'm sorry. Mexican.
Bella doesn't seem to much care for Fresca.
I know, apparently. I'm like, what's that about? Because when I have any kind of food here, they're all up in my in my face. But anyways, I had that because I absolutely love Mexican food, and it's just one of my favorites. So we had that, and then I got a couple gifts from students, which was very sweet. And then, the obligatory turn the corner and impromptu singing from some students. So I was like, okay, it was funny the first time. Because, then you get like bright red and you're like, okay, thanks. No, we don't need to do the whole version. Oh, okay. Round 2. All right, here we go. So yeah, but overall it was good. And Ian left yesterday to go skiing up in Maine because that's his dream vacation and mine is not. So he's with his brother. And, I was like, go. Like, don't let me hold you back. Come on now. So it's been relatively quiet, but I am going to have a birthday dinner here tonight with some friends and looking forward to that and talking about, if anything, a last night's game.
Yes. Well, that we're actually going to focus on the last two games because honestly, the Kings game, while it wasn't horrible, it was kind of a blur because it was 10:30 at night, and yeah, I'm speaking for myself here, but yeah, I'm getting kind of ancient in years. This will be, well, if you put candles on my birthday cake that I had last month, you probably would have had a forest fire, just to
Yeah,
give you an
I
idea.
straight up would have had an inferno. So, but you know what? It's all good. I do. I have to say, people ask like, "Oh, your favorite holiday?" I love birthdays. I truly like. I do. I think it's fun. They're fun, and why not? So, I don't care how many candles. The more candles, the better, in my opinion. But yeah, there are a lot this year. There's
Yeah,
a lot.
quite a bit.
But all good. But yeah, so I was in La La Land for that Kings game. Those
Not literally.
West Coast games kill me. So
Yeah,
whatever.
they do me too, and now that I no longer work from home and no longer work to make my own schedule, and it's kind of a kind of sucks that and that's the big complaint about the West Coast games, but so be it. Apparently we didn't miss a whole lot, but it's just not fun anymore when you got
You
early
have to
rising to
adult.
do adulting to do the next morning at the ass crack of dawn. So
Hmm.
yeah, well, let's go ahead and get into it then. But before we do, we haven't forgotten completely about this being Women's History Month. So we got a bit of information regarding that. So we're going to cover that when we get towards the end here. Going to bring back the for a week the special on the small businesses to try and help out the economy what little we can. And of course, we're going to put the spotlight on women-owned businesses in the DMV. Just happen to come across quite a few that were discussed recently in the media and social media. So we're going to talk about them when we get towards the end here. Just wanted to bring that up. So we haven't forgotten about that. But on to the games. And the first one, as we already said, was the one against the Kings in La La Land at the crypto.com arena, I think they're calling it. And
Sure.
yeah, or whatever, whoever paid to have their name slapped on the arena. I don't know. I don't care. And it was a 2-4 loss for our Washington Capitals. Not a bad game. This was the first game, if I recall correctly, the first game that had the new trade acquisition of Rasmus Sandin in it,
Hmm.
and he acquitted himself very well, scoring 1139 in his first. I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. It's bugging me that I'm not 100% sure. So I want to say this was his first game as a Cap, but
I think so because it was
because they had some bullshit with his visa or something like that.
right.
That I don't know how in this day and age you can't fucking take care of before. No, that's wrong. Okay. No, the Sharks game. The Sharks game was indeed okay, so it was supposed to be Anaheim because they traded him before the
Oh,
deadline.
right. There you
Okay,
go.
so got it. Okay. So the first game was the Sharks game last week, the 8-3 win. This was his second game against the one against the Kings. So this is his first goal as a Cap, 1139 in. Okay, so thanks for indulging us. Wanted to take the time to get that right. Fifth of the year, Milano and Strome on the assists. That's Strome's 30th.
That's all three. That little trifecta of names right there. I am loving.
I am very much in love with that whole 5-man unit of Milano, Strome, and Oshie up front, and
Yep.
Sandin, and I believe his partner is or for this game, I think it was Alexeyev actually.
Hmm.
Or was it Irwin? No, it was pretty sure it was Alexeyev. Sorry, folks. I'm just all kinds of out of sorts for this game. Let me go ahead and check the roster. Okay, Alexeyev did indeed get into this game. No, okay, it was actually he's been paired with Van Riemsdyk,
Love.
who was just re-signed to an extension.
Woohoo!
this season. So another pretty impressive on-the-fly decision by management. So now when you consider it, we have 4 defensemen signed through next year. So now that's Sandin, Van Riemsdyk, John Carlson, of course, and oh man, I am so off my game today. Okay, so Sandin, Jensen, who they just extended a week and a half ago.
A
So
3.
yeah, Jensen, yes, another 3. Jensen, John Carlson, Sandin, and Van Riemsdyk are basically, if you think about it, they're your de facto top 4
Yep.
into next season. So that puts less of a question mark on the roster for next year. Good on management for that. A lot more to deal with, but that's for another day. Anyway, back to the game. So Sandin puts them on the board, gives them 1-0 lead by poking in a shot. About halfway through the second period, and actually no goals in the first period. And yeah, I'll admit it. I mean, because it was on so goddamn late, I actually almost missed this goal. I nodded off and woke up in time to see Sandin kind of falling down and leaning in with his stick to punch it in. So that was a good thing. And then the Kings tied it up later in a couple minutes later, and then took the lead. And Captain tied it up in the third period on the power play. And I'm thinking Caps had a good chance here because the Kings are actually a decent team. I won't even call them a good team. They're a decent team, obviously going to make the playoffs. I figure the Caps had a chance here, but Kings went ahead 3-2 5 minutes after Ovechkin's power play goal and never looked back. The Kings just kind of slapped down the defense and kept the Caps outside, and Caps didn't have much of a scoring punch this game anyway. It took a long time to get them to 20 shots. I think it was halfway through the third period before they finally got to the 20th shot.
Yeah.
And then Kempe nails the empty netter to ice it with 2 seconds left. So I mean, a loss is going to sting with not so many games left, and you're fighting for a wild card spot. But it wasn't a bad loss, and it wasn't a bad game overall. Just one of those things where you run into a better team. So I'm not going to fret too much about it. Wasn't like they had a bad effort. Just took them too long to get the offense going, which is understandable. So I wasn't too pissed about it. So. All right, so on to the next game, which was a quick trip back home at Cap 1 against the Devils. And this one was a pretty interesting game. I was torn between making this the feature game and the one from last night against the Islanders. Let's quickly go over this one. So the man we were just talking about, Van Riemsdyk, opens a scoring 1-0. 10 seconds left in the first, so that's a magical McNugget minute goal. His 7th unassisted, stakes the Caps to the lead, and then New Jersey ties it. Eric Halla, his 8th in the second on a power play. And yeah, this one, okay, so this one, a lot of fans were down on the Caps in this game. I wasn't. And
I wasn't either.
I don't think the Caps played a really bad game. I think this was definitely a case where New Jersey was just that much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the Caps played pretty well for the position they were in. And they were pinned in their own zone, admittedly, a lot of the time by the Devils. But to have to lose in the shootout, that's not bad.
The last.
Pretty much the last round there would have been in the shootout. So yeah. So New Jersey goes up 2-1 in the second, and then Strome ties it in the second. And there's no goals in the third. So ended up a 2-2 tie. They go all the way through overtime with a power play chance in the last 44 or 45 seconds of overtime Had a couple chances there, couldn't bury it. And then they go to the dreaded shootout, the skills competition. I won't waste your time with that. Kuznetsov, unfortunately, his perfect streak with that 40 deke move that he's got, unfortunately, couldn't put it in. And yeah, it just didn't work out for the Caps this time. Timo Meier, their new acquisition, put it away, and just it was what are you going to do? Darcy Kemper pretty much earned #1 star honors in this game. He saved their bacon, but I wouldn't say it was just him. I think the Caps were defensively sound when they could be. It was just New Jersey was just that much quicker on the puck when they had to be. And the last 7 or 8 minutes of the game, they could have crumbled completely because they dominated the zone time, and they didn't. It was bend but don't break, and they held fast, and then they outlasted them in the overtime almost. So I don't think this was really a bad game. A loss, regulation or overtime really sucks when you need all the points you can get, but they took one of the league's best teams all the way to the limit and beyond.
Yeah.
So I wasn't too pissed at this game either.
Yeah, I think I was more frustrated that it came down to, just that last. I was like, ugh.
The extra rounds in the shootout, always sphincter clenching time when you get to that. Except for me, who never looks at that kind of thing. But anyway, I admittedly I was frustrated in the last 7 minutes because they couldn't clear the zone, but again, one of the best teams in the league, and it's almost to be expected. So I'll take a loser point. I'll take them any way I can get. I'll take a loser point against.
Could have been worse.
A top 7 team. So yeah, you're right. It could have definitely been worse. They could have given up and blown it and lost in regulation, but they didn't. So pretty good game all around, despite the loss, I think. And then you have last night's game. Okay, so let's go over that one as well. And not exactly the best of beginnings. So Pierre Engvall, here's your sign, gets credited with the goal. He kind of broke away, got a loose puck, broke away, and Alex Alexiev was playing him, and he dove for it and tried to do a sweep check, and unfortunately his stick swung around and knocked the puck past Kemper. So if you think about it, it was an own goal, and it was, but it turned out to be the only thing that got past Kemper, thankfully. But that kind of a thing, if you let it, can really, how's the saying go? Who pissed in your Cheerios?
Sure.
And and that can be, you can bring the down attitude to that after something like that happens and let it affect you. But thankfully, the Caps didn't.
Good.
And so pretty good game. I like the compete level. Caps actually responded just over 90 seconds later. Dylan Strome with his 16th. Sandin and Van Riemsdyk. So that 5-man unit again making stuff happen. Sandin from the boards found Strome in front. Great pass, and Strome it was a great one-time snipe into the net. He was all alone in the slot, and great to see Strome shooting more. I think that's what he has to do.
Well, shooting more, and I think it's like that is going to be a confidence booster for him. Because I mean, like we're starting to see like finally something freaking clicked, and it's like here we go. And then also, well, I don't want to jump ahead, but number 39.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But Caps were put up for good by TJ Oshie. So there's that 5-man unit again. This time it's Oshie putting it away. Sandin and Van Riemsdyk. I'm just going to call him
TDR.
San Riemsdyk, maybe San Van Riemsdyk. Pecan Sandys and Van Riemsdyk. I don't know.
STDR.
Somebody make up a one-word name for these guys, because like I said, I'm way off my game today. Not enough coffee, apparently. Trevor Sandine Riemsdyk.
Star.
Yeah, something like that. Second period, no goals. And then, yes, as you said, Mermaid, we have an Ant-Man sighting.
God, finally.
Incredibly enough. 10th of the year, Anthony Mantha gets a goal, puts them up 3-1 Washington. In fact, you know what? It's so rare. Let's go ahead to the replay just to make absolutely sure we saw what it was we saw.
Aww. But I do so you watched. So Alan May, was not with oh my God, Gil, you have completely worn off on me today. So
Sorry.
Al Kraken and Alexis were together.
Yes.
We'll say that. And he even mentioned the hope that that this Mantha goal is going to put him in a good headspace, which we've always said, you got to be in that good headspace. You got to let shit go in order for us to see, like, why did we sign you? Why are you on this team? Show it, prove it. And when you start to hear, game after game, oh, it's been 10 games since Mantha scored. Oh, it's been 12 games since he scored. Like, that is going to do some damage to you psychologically. And hopefully this is going to move them in the right direction, because I feel like this game was what the fans needed to see with the what the hell lines that have been going on recently. And we are moving forward in skill and speed and talent and chemistry. Because like we said, I mean, there's a couple of players on there that are just clicking on their lines. Not a couple, but, that are clicking together. And it's just, it's fucking awesome to see. Like, I felt like I loved last night. Again, like when they are not, overthinking things, the team is having fun. And did it have anything to do with the dad mentor thing? I don't know. I don't care. I was just happy with this and hopes that, when they play tomorrow the Rangers, but that it continues. Like, that's what this team needs. It's like, okay, this is the hand that we're dealt. These are the players that we got, regardless of who's out with injuries or not or whatever else. This is who we are right now. So let's, buckle down, give 110% and just fucking go. And like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the dad's trip, the dads and mentors. Look, I will say it again. Washington Capitals organization, a whole lot of other teams have done a mom's trip. Okay, it is long overdue for the Caps to have one. Okay,
Yeah.
Caps have some great moms on here who have shown their support
100%
for the team. Give them their due. Give them their own trip. It is time. Make it happen, please.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but okay. So I was studying the replay, and yeah, it was a great cycle play with Strome and Ovechkin and Mantha. They were on the far side of the boards, and Ovechkin actually had two whacks at it, and he saw Mantha was alone at the side of the net, and he kind of pushed it over to him, and Mantha just had enough to lift it in. And a lot of the goals the Caps have scored lately have been like that. And I wonder why they don't do more of that, but that's just, that's kind of how they should be playing, just kind of going to the net and crowding the goalie and taking shots, as many shots as they can. And, I like that. I like now that every week it's a different person or entity that's carrying them. Last week and a little before that, it was Tom Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's it's Sandine and it's Strome and it's Oshie and it's Van Riemsdyk and it's that whole clique, and then it's others who are throwing in their talents. Like last night, Mantha and Ovechkin on that assist, and then Nick Dowd got his 11th right after. and then
But
Backstrom
don't
got
you
in.
want that though? Like, I mean, like I know you're saying that, but it's like, why wouldn't you want that? So we're not completely predictable, like we have been, and in
No, that's what I'm
regards
saying.
to
That's what I'm
yes,
saying. It's a great thing that everybody
absolutely,
a different set of games. It's somebody different every week, so that they don't key in on one guy. And I think that's part of why the offense went dry, was because no more Carlson, no Backstrom, Wilson's at 50%. Now we can just key on Ovechkin, and
right,
I think that's part of why everything went dry. And I think Sandin and a lot of the younger guys getting more playing time. Where have you heard that before? Have injected a shot of enthusiasm and unpredictability, so that teams are like, okay, well, what do we do with these guys? And hopefully that lasts. I think unfortunately that might taper off here towards the end of the season, but I think now you know teams are going to have a much harder time figuring out what this Caps team's going to do, because they don't have a book on Sandin yet. They haven't seen Van Riemsdyk play top pairing minutes.
right.
They don't know what's going to happen, and I think that's going to serve them well. Now, unfortunately, there's only 15 games left, and they got to win a lot of them, as we'll discuss here in a little bit. But what that trade is looking better and better and better all the time. And look, I'm not going to lie, I still miss Gustafson. He drove a lot of the offense, but I think
True.
in the short and long term, Sandin is proving already to be worth him and that first round pick that they traded to get him. So it's great seeing him produce already. What is it now? He's got like 8 points in his first 4 games now. I think it is.
Yeah, and that's a record, for, so it's like, oh my God, like absolutely, absolutely keep it going. And he doesn't need to be like you just said, like we had all this, like everything was a spotlight Ovechkin, and then you see what happens, like life happens, and he has to go back for his father's funeral and everything, and someone next person up kind of thing. And now we're starting to see, Strome is clicking, TVR is clicking, Milano it's clicking, it's like let these other players have their moment and keep it going, like absolutely. And I just think it's I don't know, I love it. I really loved, not just because of the score, but just loved seeing that vibe on the ice last night.
Yeah, and that's like you said, they're getting back to being themselves, playing the game they know how to play, and even when they don't get the result, they look a lot better. The compete level is
Mm-hmm.
10 times better
Yep.
than it has been. And it looks like they want to be out there, and they're not just skating circles around each other. And win or lose, playoffs or not, as long as we see that, I think most Caps fans will be satisfied. Yeah, okay, so they missed the playoffs, not a great thing, but even so, if they put out the effort, or if they at least look like they're trying to win, then I think you're getting your money's worth. All
Mm-hmm.
right. I hate to sound like I'm making excuses here, but the compete level that I'm seeing on the ice is a lot better than I've seen in a long, long time, and I'm more than satisfied with it. And one other thing is, I hope, and you touched on this already a bit, but I hope the days of the line blender are over with.
Yep.
I think we've got some solid pairings on defense for sure. Farah Jensen Avari, I don't know how, Brangelina, I don't know what you want to call them, but they're back now, and they're healthy, and they're becoming a solid pair. So they're going to be, I think, Faravari is going to play the Orlov role a lot more. I think he'll grow into that as time goes by. Sandin and Van Riemsdyk, still want a single name for those two. I don't know if Van Riemsdyk is going to be the true number one, or number, or in that top pairing.
Mm-hmm.
He sure does look like he's got a lot of good chemistry with Sandin, though.
I agree.
So I I don't know. That's going to be a question for the offseason. Do they go after a true number one, or do they leave Carlson in that slot? I don't know. But it's going to come down to who has that chemistry with Sandin, and I think right now TVR's got it. He's definitely got it. So I don't know if you want to break that up. And as far as the forwards go, I think Oshie works well with Milano and Strome. Don't break them up.
Agree.
And the rest of them, Wilson's the Swiss Army knife, so you can put him anywhere. I'm not worried about him at all.
No.
Well, okay. All right. Swiss Army knife doesn't do him justice. That's more like a Swiss Army machete. Let's call it.
Okay. We can do that.
Yeah. So yeah, put him anywhere. He'll do his thing. I'm not worried about him. Yeah. If anything, it's going to be come down to a true number one offensive pushing center, because unfortunately Carlson's in his decline. I think he would benefit by playing less minutes. Some of you are throwing the popcorn at your iPod or however you're listening to this, the speakers or whatever but I mean, let's face it, it's come time. He's going to have a lot more wear and tear on him now that he's way past 30 or past 30. So I think it would be best if he does play some. I'm not saying bottom 6 minutes for him, but reduced minutes for sure, and definitely leave him on the power play unit. But we need to keep him fresh for sure, because he's going to be a lot more prone to injury. That's just how it works when you get older. Yeah. So, I don't know. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. But I like the chemistry. I hope it's not messed with too much. And I like what they got going here. And this was a very, very good week for the Caps on the ice. And I like what I'm seeing. And win or lose, playoffs or not, if they can keep up this intensity, I think Caps fans are going to like what they see on the
100%.
ice.
Absolutely.
Okay, so quick rundown of previews of the next few games. Anna mentioned this before. Next Tuesday, 7 o'clock in Madison Square Garden, it is the Rangers. 7 o'clock puck drop, as I said. And very next night, quick turnaround for a brief 2-game homestand. It's the Sabres, who they are in a playoff dogfight with. So that's going to be a very important game right there. And then Friday night, that'll be St. Patty's Day, I believe. Yes. Second of the 2-game homestand against St. Louis, 7 o'clock puck drop at Cap 1. And then Sunday, that's Sunday, the Minnesota Wild will go visiting them at 2 p.m. So we'll also be covering that game. So actually going to be covering 4 games with our guest next week as well. So that's the coming attractions we're going to be looking at. Okay, so that was the on-ice stuff this week. Okay, so again, since it's still Women's History Month, couldn't have our guest on as we planned, but we're going to talk about something also very important, and that's minority-owned or women-owned businesses in the area. Going to try and give them a plug here. I was just combing through this week to find some that were worth
I love
note.
that.
And
absolutely.
I found one that was actually real close to where I'm at in Anne Arundel County, and the company is called Allogram, and they actually make trophies and awards. And I looked at their website. It's www.allogram.com. That's spelled ALLOGRAM.com. Is their website. They have a lot of beautiful wares there, beautiful trophies there that they make for just about any occasion possible. I think they're definitely worth checking them out. It's a woman-owned business in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. So like for you to check them out if you could. And there was a couple in the DC area to cover them. I'll try and pull up their information here. Okay, so in DC itself, and let's see. Okay, so a woman by the name of Lori Gilman in 2015 decided that she wasn't satisfied with the traditional bookstore within the city limits as far as the availability. So in the Capitol Hill area, she decided to open up her own store. It's called East City Bookshop in 2015. And the great thing about this store is that it supports local and independent authors. So not your big names, but those looking to get into writing, making a name for themselves there. And also it contributes to the community by offering anti-racism starter kits and contributing to the community there, educating about how to be a better citizen and
Mhm.
trying to eliminate racism as a whole. So that
That's
again,
amazing.
that's called East City Bookshop.
Okay.
And Lori Gilman is the proprietor, and that's in the Capitol Hill area of the Washington D.C. city limits. And finally, in Northern Virginia,
Mm.
several businesses I came across in the Northern Virginia Online Magazine article by Ashley Davidson this week. Let's see. There's a first one. Okay, so this one's actually been around for 16 years. It's called Bastille Brasserie and Bar. Michelle Pateau and her husband Christophe own it, and it's a French-inspired cuisine. It's called the Bastille Brasserie and Bar. Again, it's in Alexandria, and Michelle is a renowned chef, and they focus on French cuisine, of course, especially desserts, and a little bit of American influence and other mid-Atlantic ingredients. But they've gotten rave reviews from local reviewers. And again, that's Bastille Brasserie and Bar, and Michelle Pateau, again, is the executive chef there. Go ahead and check that out if you're in the Alexandria area.
I may just have to do that.
And let's see. So they have many others. Okay, so there's another one called Derm to Door. Dr. Lily, hope I'm saying this right, Lily Talakoob. She's a dermatologist and founded a personalized skincare e-commerce platform. So it's called Derm to Door. And it was actually named one of this year's top 20 DC tech companies to watch by technical.lydc. And they're actually an AI-based app that virtually diagnoses skin issues and sends you products that are handpicked by a dermatologist. I wonder if they're behind that. Well, that there's that kind of a ZocDoc type of commercial where
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
Mhm.
seen it. The doctor comes up out of the phone
Right.
and says,
It's a
"Well, let
little
me have a
creepy.
look." I don't know if it's the same. This is that app, but it sounds like this is what they do. So again, that's called Derm to Door, and it is the proprietor and creator, Dr. Lily Talakoob. She's a renowned dermatologist, and she is actually based in the McLean, Virginia area.
Okay.
But yes, that's the online app that can virtually diagnose any skin issues that you have, and you can get diagnosed by dermatologists as far as the proper treatment for those. And let me see. So I want to do one more. Okay. Oh, this one's pretty good. Okay, Cameron's Coffee and Chocolates, co-founded by someone by the name of Ellen Graham. Um, and so, okay. Okay. So this was Cameron's Coffee and Chocolates was a venture followed by another nonprofit that Ellen founded called Everyone Can. That's every, and then the number one. Everyone Can Work, a nonprofit that focus on employing people with intellectual disabilities.
Oh.
So Cameron's Coffee and Chocolates was their first venture to put out a business, a for-profit business. This is in the Fairfax City area. It actually opened in 2013, serves up everything from coffee, chocolate truffles to cookies, scones, cupcakes, a lot of great treats. So that's in the Fairfax area, but the backer is Everyone Can. So kind of like the how Burke and Herbert Bank was doing the sponsoring for the charities, the nonprofit charity. So it's kind of like that kind of a setup.
Okay.
So Everyone Can is the actual. If you want to look into the actual business, they're the backers, but the venture is called Cameron's Coffees and Chocolates, and they're in Fairfax City. So you want to see a sample of what Ms. Graham's organization is all about. That's an example right there. So I just wanted to put that out there for you out there in the DMV. That's the state of Maryland, Commonwealth of Virginia, and of course the District of Columbia. One for each area. So that just a small example of what the mind of a woman can do for the greater good. And so again, wanted to put that out there, give them their due. Of course, this being Women's History Month, these are unsolicited, by the way. I didn't ask them for anything. I just happened to find out about them during the week while I was browsing online, and I wanted to give them just a little bit of lip service and tell this part of the world that these are great people and they do great things. That's all we're looking for here. There's no quid pro quo here. So just wanted to mention that.
Good job, Gil.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so I think that's going to do it for this week. We're just going to go ahead and wrap it up here. And next week, hope to have a big show. It's going to be a little long, so we're actually going to start a little earlier. But got 4 games, as I said, so it's going to be action packed. Hopefully, a lot more wins and a lot more action for sure that we're going to love. So for the Mermaid, Anna Knox, this is the Blue Liner on Point signing off and reminding you that you should never, ever buy shoes from a drug dealer. You know why?
I don't.
You have no idea what they're going to lace them up with, and no matter what happens, you'll be tripping all day.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Depends on the reaction. Yes.
Very true.
Hallelujah, and let's go Caps.
Go Caps.
This has been another episode of the Power Play Point Podcast. All episodes are available from Apple Podcast, the Podbean app, blueliner77.podbean.com, and now available from Stitcher. Music by Joe McAllister, voiceover by Jeffrey Conkle.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Power Play Point Podcast. Thanks for listening.